Welcome back to the Kirk Miller Podcast. I've been blessed to have some phenomenal leaders on this podcast in the last 200 plus episodes, and up there with the very best leaders is someone I've got on today's episode, and that is the one and only Martin Brady, who isn't just a great leader, but I consider a very good friend who came into my life, I'd say around 5-6 years ago on the same mentorship program. And is someone like me who's in the coaching space. But why I wanted to get you on today, Martin, is I think the word leadership, mindset, mental performance, personal development, personal growth has been butchered a bit, to say the least. I know we spoke about this on the car on the way over, especially as media platforms now are at the forefront of people's mind. And I think there's a lot of chances out there who are, I'll just shoot from the hip, who are full of shit when they talk about high performance, leadership. Martin, for those who don't know him, is anything but that. So we are going to squeeze the life out the next 60 minutes, Martin, to add as much value as possible from all your years of experience, not just as a coach, but also in the military. Because am I right in saying you in the military for the best part of 20 years?
Yeah, 18 years.
Yes,
yeah.
as a sniper, right?
That's the tagline.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for those who are listening to this that can't see this, I'm currently putting this on the camera as well. You're also an author of the book Change Your Jacket, which is all around developing the mindset to change your life and stop waiting for life to change your mindset. They're big ballsy statements, mate. So I want to unpack that and as many methodologies as possible for anybody who is underperforming, feels that their mind is letting them down in some way, and just knows they're capable of becoming more. You know, I think one of the reasons me and you connected from day one, and you're going to find out on this podcast, we don't struggle to come up for air. We struggle to come up for air, when we're together, is we're just absolutely obsessed at looking for the finer margins of what can take people from stuck to unstuck, from good to great, and just to unblock some of the bullshit limitations that are holding people back. So for those who don't know who you are, what you do, who is Martin Brady?
Who is Martin Brady is a good question. And like we actually spoke about a while ago, about introducing yourself in a way that people are hearing it for the first time, and where people will be hearing this for the first time. But I'm someone that likes to help people who are exceptionally good at what they do, but they put themselves under a huge amount of pressure, and pressure has been the big thing that's driving those people in life. And we help them to rebuild how they actually operate under pressure. And I'll tell you why that is, because Martin Brady is the type of guy who put himself under pressure at every stage of his life. I was an elite level boxer from a very young age. I was a national champion, first national champion in my town, all driven by pressure. Didn't enjoy any stage of it because I just had this terrible fear of losing. And then I joined the military, and I was awarded the best overall soldier on my main leadership course. I was one of the youngest soldiers to ever do that course, and I went on to pass the sniper course and pass it with distinction, where you get a badge, and very, very few people do get that badge. But again, it was driven by pressure. And as a result of pushing myself to achieve these accolades, and I see other people around me, and they're high achievers, and they're pushing themselves to achieve these accolades, you're saying to yourself, but I feel tense, I feel urgent, I feel under pressure all the time. I'm like, I want to change this. And I started off with changing myself first and foremost, looking at myself. It was probably just after we kind of met, Kirk. And then I said, you know what, I want to go on, I want to impact other people with this kind of work,
Let me go back to what you just said there, though, because I'm always fascinated to unpack where, for example, where do you feel that first awareness of you feeling like you were driven by pressure? Why do you think that is? Where did that come from? Like, is there anything from childhood that you felt made you think that way? Even though as a kid, I'm sure you're not aware of you feeling the need of pressure, but where do you think it came from?
Yeah, my childhood, I was blessed to have a fantastic childhood and fantastic parents.
Yeah.
And we grew up in and Northern Ireland that was going through change. And my parents wanted a better future for us. And we moved down to the south of Ireland when I was 10 years old. Now, I was 10 years old. I was much smaller than other 10-year-olds. Right? I looked like a 6-year-old. Even when I joined the army, I was actually only 8 stone, 51 kg.
What age were you then?
17.
17, you were
Two weeks after my 17th birthday, I was actually competing in boxing as a bantamweight. Right?
And just for context, for anyone listening to this, how tall are you now and what do you weigh?
I'm 6 foot and I weigh 84 kg.
And you were 50 kg at 17.
And I met a guy, Jamie Conlon, a professional boxing promoter in Belfast a few weeks ago. And the first thing he said to me is, he looked at me and said, "You're not 51 kg anymore." but I was always underweight.
Was that just because you were so active or genetically? Or?
Like, I give an example, right? My oldest son now competes boxing. He's 15 years old.
Yes.
All right. He's 57 kg. So that's 9 stone. He's light. I look at him now and I say he's light, he's lean, he's athletic. Yeah. I was 39 kg.
That's insane.
Okay, whenever I was 15 years old. Now, when I moved down south, I was out in my grandmother's garden on one particular day. Yeah. And a girl walked past and she said, "Look at the size of him." And she called me Minnie. She called me Minnie.
Minnie Martin.
That became my nickname. Okay? Stephen Ireland was one of my best friends growing up. Professional football from Manchester City.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I seen his dad a couple of weeks ago and he said to me, he always asks, "How's Minnie Martin?" That became my nickname growing up, was Minnie Martin.
Because I was definitely so small. Not Minnie Martin now.
No, consciously, I thought that it's just my nickname. Everyone called me Minnie. My family called me Minnie. My brother, my sister, my friends, people on the sports team, coaches. Okay. Right, they shout Minnie, and I, that's me. That was my identity. Yeah. Right. Then I had a large birthmark on the side of my face, which is still there. But whenever I was smaller,
were you born with that?
Yeah, I was born with that. But when I was smaller, that covered a lot more of my face. Obviously, as I've grown, my skin is stretched, so it's not as obvious today. But it's still, that birthmark is still in my face. Mm-hmm. So when you take those things into consideration, and what I became aware of later in life, I had this feeling of, I'm not enough. I'm different. I'm not like these people. I need to do things that are abnormal to earn respect. Okay. So if someone's skinny and underweight and has a birthmark and could potentially, not that I was ever bullied as a child, but could potentially be in that position where you're easy to make fun of, what gives you respect? Boxing.
Okay.
And that's why, even though I didn't enjoy it, I fell in love with it.
Did your parents push you into that? Or
no, they completely rejected it.
But you wanted to do that, probably subconsciously.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to develop that strength. And
I don't even know initially what pulled me to boxing. I can't put my finger on it and say, I seen a fight or I watched something. You know when people say, "Oh, I watched Ricky Hatton growing up," or "I remember staying up late to watch the fight." None of that ever happened to me.
Right? I think there was a part of you that did that, knowing what you know now, to feel like if you did that, you could protect yourself because you were small. Yeah,
I could protect myself and I can get respect. And
if you work hard and you get good at it, then that can get validation.
Exactly.
And maybe form connections.
And you'll be respected and you'll be validated and you prove yourself.
But from an early age, sorry to jump on that, mate, because I think this is important. But from an early age, because look, boxing is not easy. Anyone who's tried boxing, it's a tough sport. I've done it as a hobby and it's hard. And my respect for anyone who's done it at amateur level, pro level, had multiple fights. You know, it's a tough sport. So you've chose something that, yes, of course, would make you feel like you could protect yourself, but also you're accustomed to doing or believing you have to do really, really consistently hard things to get acceptance, because boxing, there's so many different things from an early age that you need to be good at, especially if you want to be good at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's almost like a belief that I always have to do more than everyone else.
Yes.
And whenever I joined the army, it was the same belief. I always have to do more than everyone else.
Okay.
And as a result of that belief, I would push myself. Like the youngest soldier on my NCO's course, 9 months long. I was on that course. There was people that were already snipers. There was people that were, had passed Army Ranger Wing selection courses, but yet I was standing out ahead of those guys.
What do you think was the top 3 reasons that was the case?
Number one, I put myself under so much pressure, right? Pressure to perform, pressure to achieve beyond myself. Number two, I genuinely believe that I always had an inner drive and I had capabilities and I was getting exposure to that. And number three, the most important, fantastic leadership.
When did you realise that you had fantastic leadership? Was there anything that stands out? Or
from the day I walked in to the Army Barracks on the 17th of November 2003, that's the first day I realised that I was going to be surrounded by the right people who were going to guide me in the right direction in life. And I wasn't wrong.
Why?
And every stage of my military career, I was guided by some of the very best people that I've ever put on a uniform.
And that's when you realised that you too could you had and could develop those traits.
As a result of seeing that, I wanted to become that.
Okay.
You know, I obsessed over being the person who could put on a uniform and train recruits. I obsessed
Why?
over just the respect that we had for the instructors. You know, when I was in recruit training, a corporal is the junior rank that trains you. 3 or 4 weeks into that process, you look at a corporal like a professional footballer. They become a god. You think they have everything figured out. You think they have all of the answers, right? Because they're an authority, they're a respected figure.
Yeah.
They have rank, they have presence, they have expertise. Okay, they have everything that you would like to see in yourself, you know.
You said there that you felt from an early age you had to put yourself under pressure. Some high-performing athletes, business leaders, personal development specialists would argue that, is that a bad thing? What's your answer to that?
It's not a bad thing, right? We need pressure
Yep.
to get the best out of us.
Yep.
It's the relationship with pressure.
Explain that.
Okay. Most people who put themselves under too much pressure, their default is that they carry tension, they carry stress, they carry overwhelm. They might pick up traits like people pleasing.
Yeah.
I don't want to let people down, so I can have boundaries. So that's a form of pressure. For other people, they'll be a bit of a chameleon. They'll remodel themselves to become who they feel that other people need them to be. Okay? Really good leaders under pressure will become intentional. They'll become very focused and they'll become very decisive because the outcome needs me to be that person. Like the name of that book, Change Your Jacket.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sniper course in the military, right? There's people who will watch this from multiple different military nationalities. But universally, it's a very psychologically demanding course to pass because the margin for error is so small. Okay? There's a number of tests that you need to pass. And I mean, no, it's all psychological. The percentage of failure is 85% plus. Now, when you pass that course, you get a jacket, okay? And it looks different to everyone else's jacket. And when I was in my recruit training, I remember I was standing in platoon. Okay, so if you can visualize, I'm standing here in a row of other soldiers, okay, and you don't look left and right. But I remember one particular day, I couldn't help but just turn my head slightly and look at this guy. My platoon sergeant caught me.
Really?
And the reason I was looking is because there was a sniper walk passing a different jacket. And there was very few amount of snipers in our barracks at that time. And my platoon sergeant came over to me and he goes, you know what? You have a long way to go before you get one of them.
Okay.
And he wasn't wrong because when I applied to do the sniper course, the first week, they put you through every test, even though you haven't been taught how to pass them. So naturally, you're going to fail those tests, okay? As a result of failing those tests, I felt like a failure.
And for someone who had, I'm guessing, performed pretty well in boxing and done great things at school when you push yourself, how did you deal with that failure?
Turn up the pressure. Okay, so
that was your automatic response. I need to increase pressure in order to overcome that failure.
I need to put more pressure on myself.
Okay.
So there became more sleepless nights. There became more overthinking. There became more overwhelm. I used to visualize in my head, right, my commanding officer, who I respected at that time. I used to visualize in my head having to walk into him and justify why I failed the course. And that drove me to pass the course, right? Now, did it get the best out of me? Yes. Did I get the jacket? Yes. But what I learned on reflection from that course is that as you go through life, you don't have the same jacket. It changes over time. But so is your mindset. It's something that has to evolve and has to change and has to develop over time. We call it identity, which we'll probably touch on a little bit more in this podcast. But that's what your jacket is. It's changing your identity. It's letting go of traits and behaviors that no longer serve you. Okay, and it's rebuilding something new. I believe for a lot of people that do operate from pressure, and I know a lot of high performance athletes and business leaders, pressure is their default setting. But as a result of operating from that pressure all of the time, they get to a position where it's like, I feel lost. I have everything that I was chasing. I have everything that I felt that I wanted and that I needed and that I desired, but I'm still not happy. And a lot of it, I believe, comes down to what's actually driving it in the first place.
Just going back to that, what you just said there about you didn't want to go into that room and look at failure. I suppose that, would there be a part of you when you look back at that you're maybe more driven to please someone else than do that for yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, when you're speaking about the people pleasing thing, because I've done it myself, Martin. That's external, right?
Yeah.
And it might feel good in that moment, but you know, I'm guessing you felt pretty flat the other side of that when you're like, oh, I've done it.
Yeah. But where does it get? At the end of the day, like, that's something that followed me throughout my whole childhood and into the military career. Was I hated letting people down.
So what was it? What was the upside on that? Because I'm sure that'd be so relatable to so many people. It's even relatable to me. What's the upside?
The upside is your results will always improve. The result will always be there whenever you hate letting people down. Because if there's someone that you want to impress, right, you're always going to perform a little bit more outside your skin. For example, from a young age, like my boxing coach, we used to drive to all different places and spar, and he was like so good to me growing up, you know. But just the little things that he would say in conversations, I'd say, I never want to let this guy down. He'd say to me, few fellas have the dedication you have. And he had never coached an Irish champion. Up until me, I was his first ever Irish champion.
So you became Irish champion as well?
Yeah.
Boxing as well? Okay.
I wanted to do it. And if you ask me why did I want to do it, it was like, okay, again, it's for him. He's put so much time and effort into me. He's put so much energy into me, put so much focus on me. And he sees things in me. He sees that I've got, the exact thing he said to me is, few fellas have the dedication you have. I'm sitting in the car, I can remember him saying that to me now as I say it. Few fellas have the dedication you have. Didn't want to let him down. It's the same whenever I joined the military. I was working under fantastic leaders who see that little bit in you. But again, it's the meaning that we give things. Someone sees potential in me. The meaning I was giving it is, I can't let these people down. The meaning I was giving it is, I always have to fulfill what it is that they believe that I have. Okay? And I can still do that, and that's still something that I want to do today. I don't want to let people down.
Of course.
I don't want to let, my family see a lot of me. I don't want to let them down. But at the same time, it's about doing it the right way.
And being at more peace with who you are. And more in control of why you're doing that to serve someone else. I'm exactly the same as you. It's like you want to do that, but if you're consistently doing something for other people's needs or to appease someone else, then you well, I know for me, Mark, that you're constantly having to do extravagant things, more extreme things, or do things for other people. It's like that next bit of dopamine hit. You know, if you're constantly having to, I need to do something for other people, I need to do something extreme, I need to do, then it's like, it's mentally exhausting.
You become a chameleon.
Yes.
You know, you become someone who's just constantly changing yourself and remodeling yourself to fit in to other people's paradigms and other people's expectations.
Which can affect your self-worth as well.
Totally, because, you have to look at yourself in the mirror every single day, and you have to ask yourself, who am I doing this for? You know, what's the meaning that I'm giving that particular situation? What is it that I'm afraid of? Is it really letting that person down, or is it how it makes me feel? And a lot of time it's how it makes me feel. So if for example, if I impose this boundary, where I say, okay, I can't do X, Y, or Z today because, is it really because I'm letting that person down, or is it because how that makes me feel as a result of letting that person down? Because again, it goes back to, we've 3 foundational fears, okay? Fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough, and fear of failure. You know, and the fear of I'm not good enough is something that drives so many people to put themselves under pressure to do a lot of the things that they might not particularly want to do, but they will do because they believe it gives them the outcome, you know.
And when was the moment where you realised that relying solely on pressure or putting yourself under pressure to do something, when was the moment, if there was one, that you said, this isn't sustainable or isn't the way that I want to consistently live my life?
I can remember the exact moment. I was in Belfast in 2020. Business was going fantastically well. Yep. I was probably 7 or 8 months into being a coach at that stage, full time.
Yep.
Stepped away from the army. Had just told my wife to step away from her career. She was training to be a rapid transformational therapist.
Yep.
And in such a short space of time, we went from a position where we both had salaries coming in each month. Now that's gone, and you're self-sufficient, right? If we don't get up and coach today, you don't have a roof overhead.
And at that point, you got your 2 boys, right? As
well? We've two boys.
Yep.
We've mouths to feed. We've
Yep.
mortgage overhead.
Yep.
And bear in mind, it was probably a year previous to this, I even learned what online coaching was. Right? I didn't even know this was a thing. Someone said to me in the gym, I'm an online coach. I'm like, what is that? And he said, that is right up my street. Holy shit. I'm cut out for this stuff.
So you didn't fancy another 20 years with the rifle going?
Yeah. I was like, I'm all my army experience. Geez, I could teach people this and this and this. So I was like, I am built for this stuff, you know? But it's the moment, okay, whenever I became self-employed, even though business was going so well, even though I was earning so much more than what I could be earning in a career, and those needs were being met, but there was this fear of it all coming down. There was this fear of what if, there was this fear of losing. So there naturally became that little bit of pressure, which just turned up that little bit more. Then come August of that year, I'm up in Belfast. We bring our kids up to Belfast 3 or 4 times a year. And we're up in Belfast, and we said, you know what, let's bring them to the zoo. And I got up that morning in the hotel to bring the kids to the zoo. And I remember opening my WhatsApp. Okay. And there was just messages and voice notes. I had over 120 clients. Okay. And it was me on my own, coach 120 people. And I thought to myself, this isn't sustainable. You ask yourself, why do I end up in that position? When we look at ourselves and we take responsibility and we say, okay, you're standing here right now. How is it you end up in a position where you've got this amount of people that you need to serve? You've got no boundaries in place. Okay, people can message you anytime, day or night. Yeah. If someone reaches out and says, can you take a quick call in 30 minutes? I'd say yes.
Okay.
Even though I could be heading off for dinner with my family, I'd still say yes.
Why do you think what was the real, from the heart, no bullshit reason you were doing that?
Here's the belief that was driving it. If I don't say yes, I'm not a good coach. If I don't say yes, those people will think that I'm not good at what I do. So I was operating from this belief that I always have to say yes, and your family will look, and they can see it, but it's so hard. I genuinely believe this, that when someone is very good at what they do and they're a top performer, it's very hard to see yourself in real time. And sometimes like a 10-year-old could see it, right? Your grandmother could see it, but you can't see it. You're getting swallowed up into the world. And for me, you know, it was those realization moments where Roseanne would say, you care more about what other people think than what we think. And it's those realization moments where you ask yourself, okay, and you'll say, I'm doing it for my family. But deep down, are you really, really doing it for your family?
And that'll resonate. That might touch a nerve, but there'll be a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs listening to this. Because I've said this openly as well, Mark. A lot of people, when they join you or I always ask why. Doing it for my family. Are you there? I mean, really, are you?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the question I had to ask myself. Like, was I doing that off my family whenever I was so disconnected, you know? And like, I only spoke about this the other day on social media. It gets to the point you put yourself under so much pressure. The smallest things in your day-to-day life take so much energy. Like, I'm talking, you've put so much time and so much energy into your business that your kids could say, Dad, did you see my school bag? And the school bag could be sitting there, staring me in the face, and I'll say no. I'm like, Dad, my school bag. Is it? No, I don't know. Lads, can you look yourself? Right? Yeah. I'm up to 90 here. Can you look for it? But you're just so caught up in your own head that it's these little moments that are really important. These little moments you look back on in years come and say, Jesus, remember that. Why did I let that pass me by? Those little moments, they're being missed because you're just consumed by this pressure that you're putting yourself under all of the time,
So when you looked at your phone, you got 110 messages. What did you decide and then do to start changing that situation?
That's the day where I decided I need to change.
Okay. And what did you do?
The first thing I did is I reached out and I actually worked with a coach myself.
Yeah.
The second thing I did, and it was pretty much weeks after starting that process and starting to learn a little bit more about how I think, how I function and how I operate, is that I said, you know what? This is what I believe is my true calling. I genuinely believe that I was supposed to go through this phase of my life so that I can take all of these lessons, take all of these experiences, take all of these things that have drove me to achieve these different accolades in my life and say, you know what, maybe this is holding you back too. So that's whenever I decided this is the next stage in my life and I want to go down the route of coaching people to overcome the exact obstacles and bottlenecks that I believe held me back,
Yeah, so you went more granular then on the mindset, the belief system side of things, because I know you, like me, you touched a lot more into health in the past, but if I've been knowing you for 5-6 years, if there's one thing that you for me were always more fascinated by, it was why people do what they do. It's probably what me and you get so we talk about it all day, but that's when you had to be brave to go, no, this is what I really want to do, and this is the area that I can really focus on with people. Yeah,
well, brave is not the right word in that moment. Okay. Looking back, I'd say, whoa, that was a brave move, because I had built something that was on paper was working really well, and to step away from that, it takes courage, it takes bravery. Absolutely. But it wasn't a clean transition, because I was stuck in this messy middle where you keep going back to that old identity, you keep going back to the familiar. Okay. And it's something I experience whenever people come and work with us and they're trying to create change in their life. And the very same with the clients that you work. One of the most powerful rules is is that the mind loves what's familiar and hates what's unfamiliar. So if something's familiar to you, and you step outside your comfort zone a little bit, and you don't get the immediate result and immediate payoff that you're looking for, you'll naturally go back to what's familiar, and naturally go back to that comfort. So for me, there's probably this year where I'm almost like toying with the idea of really going granular and focusing my time, energy, and attention in this route. And I go out for a little while, I step outside for a little while, it's too cold, I'm not seeing the results I want to see, so I pull back. Then I go again, it's too cold, not seeing the results I want to see, so then I pull back. So there was that phase where, again, I had to work on myself. It wasn't a case of just changing something outside of me. And if there's one like golden thread that goes through every single stage, and 100% goes through that, where it was the biggest change within our business, was going solely into the mental performance route. Every single change started with me, not out there. It wasn't changing my messaging or my positioning or any of that stuff. It was changing me. Because what's the fear you're feeling here by stepping into that space,
So how did you unpack that? Because you hear so many different ways of overcoming fear, shifting belief, and this is a subject that fascinates me, and we coach people on too, but I want to hear from you, Martin, because you went through it yourself, and I think one of the greatest leadership traits is to do that with yourself first before, like we said at the start, you start preaching. And I believe there's so many NLP mindset gurus who they might say certain principles or have coaching frameworks, but they haven't actually done it themselves, and there's an incongruency. But you didn't do that, so what did you do?
I'll tell you what, all right? I shared this with you in the gym yesterday. Around 2019 was whenever I got the first kind of like snapshot of how open I was to help. it's when I went to my dentist, and I was in tip-top shape, right? Probably in the best physical shape of my life to look at, all right?
Yep.
And he said, how's work going at the minute? And I was like, yeah, great, as I would always say, because again, we wear the mask. Yeah, great, sure. I'm Martin Brady, you know, I can take on anything, you know. And he said, you're under a lot of stress, Martin. This is my dentist now. This isn't like a therapist or a psychologist. This is my dentist. He says, you're under a lot of stress, Martin. I said, no, I'm just busy, you know, it's not stress. Like, I'm well able to manage all this stuff.
Especially when you're a soldier, right?
Yeah.
You got
well, I was a soldier, plus I had the coaching business at that time. So it was two worlds, and then I was training teams. He touched 2 spots here on my jaw and 2 at the back of my head, and it nearly sent me through the roof. Okay? And he says, you're carrying so much tension, right? Tension in my jaw, because naturally, if we're, you know, in an angry state or carrying too much weight on a day-to-day basis, we're going to hold so much of it in our jaw, so much of it on our neck and our shoulders, and that obviously resonates throughout the rest of our body. But I just denied it. I was like, no, I'm fine. And leaving that dental practice that particular day, there was no stage where I said, you're right. There was no stage where I said, thanks for today, or thanks for highlighting that to me. I still kept the mask on until I got out of there. But when I got out, I said, he's right. He's right. Okay? My mind is consumed by overthinking. I'm not sleeping right. I have this massive fear of everything crumbling down. This is where I genuinely believe rapid transformational therapy as a standalone practice is phenomenal, because what that helped me to see in a very short space of time is where so much of my actions were driven from. I had this massive fear of loss. Now, every day from the day you're born, right up to today, we're just consuming information through our senses. What we see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and it's all having an impression on our subconscious mind. And that drives 95% of our actions every single day. I wasn't aware of that at the time. Now, what was driving so much of my actions, okay, linked right back to whenever I was just 3 years old. My parents' house burnt to the ground at 3 years old up the north.
burnt, literally gone.
Yeah, burnt down. And
where was everyone? Sorry for the question.
Outside. So it was during daytime. So yeah.
I was going to say you survived fires.
But I seen my parents like lose everything you have. You know, like if your house burns down, you feel you've lost everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you feel you've lost everything. Yeah. We moved down south and we lived in 9 different places before my parents got the house that they live in today. That's a huge amount of change. Yeah. But on paper, they lost everything, you know. The association that I gave that subconsciously at the time was that everything you have, you can lose. Everything you have, you can lose. And so much of my actions and behaviors within my business and as an adult in different aspects of life as well, as everything you have, you can lose. So when you believe everything you have, you can lose, sometimes you try to hold on that a little bit tighter.
And that could stop growth. And
of course.
Great.
Yeah.
Coming back to pressure and emotional heaviness. Yeah.
Because you're tense.
Yes.
You're tight and you're tense and your body, you know, I shared with you this morning in the gym. Last year we had a lady, she was doing a public speaking event over in Norway. And she had to accommodate for different language barriers and stuff. So this put a lot of pressure and a lot of extra tension on her that she just didn't really need, because she's like, look, I'm not the type of person that stands on stage and I'm not really comfortable doing this stuff. Yeah. So for her, it wasn't like, oh, this is something I want to do. It was more, this is something I just want to get out of the way. Yeah. And we did some work in the lead up to it. Yeah. And whenever she got there, she sent me a voice note the day before. Now she was confident going over. She's like, look, we've worked a lot on this. I know exactly what I need to do. She sent me a voice note the day before. She was a marathon runner now, by the way. And the reason I say that is because the day before she went out for a 4-kilometer run, right, just to loosen out and a bit of sightseeing. Yeah. And she sent me a voice note and she said, Martin, honestly, I just feel under so much pressure. She said, I feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. She goes, I went out for a quick jog there. My legs and everything are starting to cramp up. I've got a pain in my back. What should I do? I said, listen back to exactly what you said to me. You said, I feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. When you say, I feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders, your body will naturally take up that posture because your mind learns from words and images. That's a strong rule of the mind, is that your mind takes information in from the words and images. So what you say is like sending an email down to your body, and your body will naturally pick up that posture. So you'll feel the tension. For her, she said, I feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. The law of gravity will pull you towards the ground, and you take up that posture where you feel heavy, you feel tense. Your back starts to tighten up. Okay, your legs start to cramp. She started to get so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It only happened to my son at a football match this weekend. And I know this is going on a little bit thing, but it comes back to what was going on inside my head. My son at a football match this weekend, okay, and free kick was taken at force, and the ball hit his hand, bent his wrist back, okay. So he momentarily came off. I strapped his hand up. Now I probably strapped it a little bit too tight. So on the way back, we stopped in a DIY store. And he says, Dad, can I take the strapping off my wrist now? I said, yeah, take it off. So we cut it off, okay, because I strapped it and I taped it. So we cut it off. All around his wrist was red. Now, he's seen red here on his wrist. One of his friends fell a few weeks ago, had to get an operation on his wrist. When he's seen red, we're walking into the DIY store, I can see sweat on the back of his hair. And if he ever sweats playing sport, he sweats here his forehead. I seen sweat in the back of his hair. And I said to Rosanna, I says, he's going to faint. And she said, what? I go, Shay, are you okay? And I called him back and I could see it. He goes, I don't feel well. I brought him back to the car. He sat in the car, drank water. I says, what were you thinking there whenever you were getting worked up? Like, I thought I was going to have to get an operation. Yeah. Now, when he said to himself, I think I'm going to have to get an operation here, whenever he looks at what's going on there, his body took up that posture, okay, where he sensed that fear, sensed that danger, and straight away now his body started to communicate to him, okay, that something is wrong. And he was operating from that place. And that goes back to where I was operating from that state.
From the age of 3.
From the age of 3, but at that moment in my business and that urgency and that pressure that I put myself under, it's a fear of it all coming crumbling down, and it's a fear of loss.
God, that's crazy. So when you're working with when you're working with people who you see have the pressures that you went through, imagine that's me now. I'm one of those guys. What is the first port of call? Because there'll be so many people listening to this who relate to the pressures, the things that happen to their body, for example, when they go into a business meeting, right, or those dynamics where they're under pressure, or they feel like they need to create pressure to perform. What's the first thing that you do with those people? You mentioned rapid transformational therapy. Would you say that is the first thing you need to unpack, or what is the
first step is always identifying where it's actually stemming from. Okay, most people would think it's just this particular moment. It's like look, work is very busy, life is very busy, I've got a lot on my plate. Okay, when someone says that, they're not under pressure because work is very busy, life is very busy, and they've got a lot on their plate. They're saying that because that's their default setting. They typically, there's patterns in their life to show that they put themselves under pressure in other areas. When they played sport, they put themselves under a lot of pressure so they achieve. So whenever they're performing well in business, they're putting themselves under a lot of pressure, and it helps them to achieve. But externally, they're successful on paper, but internally they feel stress, overwhelm, overthinking, constant anxiety.
But you know, if someone has associated that's who they need to be to achieve success in sport, success in business, how do you broach that if they're going, well, I've got evidence through what I've earned, what I can do, what I've achieved? Yeah. Because it's fascinating, right? How do you deal with that?
That's where I believe the wall is for a lot of people, and the grey area. A lot of people think it's one or the other. So there's evidence to show that I'm a high achiever by putting myself under pressure. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you go back to even what I said at the very start of this podcast, we help people to rebuild how they operate under pressure. We don't remove the pressure. Yep. We don't eliminate the pressure. We rebuild how that person operates under pressure. Yep. And we redefine, what pressure actually looks like that person, and what's the level of pressure that they need to put themselves under, and what's the triggers stuff to have. But to go back to your question.
Yeah, what is the process for doing that?
Yeah, so if someone's watching this and they're like, okay, I'm the type of person who puts myself under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, what should they do? Step one.
Step one, right? Here's how we go about it. We identify the root, exactly where this pressure is stemming from. Step two, so important, because every single person sees the world different. You'll see the world different to me. The reason as a 3-year-old, I give meaning to that everything you have, you can lose. And that becomes a belief later in life. Could be completely different the way someone else is putting them under pressure. So step two is we need to interpret their worldview, how they're experiencing things, how they're seeing things. So everything is completely individualized, that person. Step three is interrupting the pattern. Interrupting the pattern is extremely important, because a lot of people, they have awareness about what's holding them back. They have awareness of what their problem is, but they're still living in it, right? They're still just speaking about the problem and staying stuck. Whereas interrupting the pattern is breaking the pattern and almost severing you from that.
What would be an example for someone who, again, is totally new to this? They're like, okay, I get it. I've got this pattern. What would be a practical example of breaking the pattern or helping someone do that?
Okay. Let's say, for example, all right, you have someone now and the pressure came into their life from a young age because it helps them to achieve more. That pressure has done 4 things in their life. It's like it's a part of your mind, right? If someone's watching this now and they want to understand this better, visualize that the pressure, give it a shape, a color, whatever you want, and just visualize that it's there. It's in your mind, okay? It has a role, it has a function, it has a purpose, and it has an intention for you. So it's like a job description, right? It's playing a role in your life right now. Interrupting the pattern is finding out exactly what its role, function, purpose, and intention is, and giving it a new role, a new function, a new purpose, new intention. It's like saying, listen, this has been your job description all of these years.
Okay.
Here's what your role has been in my life. Here's how you've been functioning on a day-to-day basis. Okay, the purpose, the intention, okay? Here's what I would like you to do instead.
Okay.
And for me, do I still put myself under pressure? Yes. But pressure comes into my life right now, gives me focus, gives me direction, helps me be very intentional, helps me be decisive, helps me make less emotional, reactive decisions.
Okay, so you've reframed the meaning of pressure from a language perspective and relationship perspective.
Partially correct. From an identity perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've changed the relationship I have with pressure from an identity perspective.
Yep.
In the past, it's like I say, I'd have no boundaries.
Yep.
I'd be honestly, like terrible people pleaser, hate letting people down, constantly operating from urgency. Even if it was a day off, like my nervous system is just in fight or flight mode.
Yep.
I could be sitting in a park with the kids.
Yep.
But in my head, I'm solving 10 different business problems.
Yep.
Right?
I think it's one of the most common things in entrepreneurs and business owners. I've done it myself, where empty space, you can't live with your own thoughts, and you feel guilty for not working or being under pressure.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I don't know any different.
Yes.
Right. So if you say it to yourself, like, that's me, and I don't know any different, it's just the way I've always been, that's an identity.
Yeah.
Okay. So like my identity had to change. You know, most decisions that I would have made would have had a big emotional buy-in, big emotional tie to them. That had to change. You know, as a business owner, you have to be decisive. You have to be very logical with your decisions on a day-to-day basis. And I needed to become that person. Though there was a lot of traits of that I had already. There was a lot of evidence in my life to show that I could be that person whenever I wanted to. Yeah. But it just wasn't familiar enough to my mind. It had to become more familiar through repetition, you know?
Yeah. So coming back to the steps. So step 3, you interrupt the pattern. Then
install new belief systems.
Okay. And would you recommend someone, again, I love these conversations, but again, I always want to learn and soundboard this stuff with other coaches. Do you write them down? Do you speak them out loud? Like, what would you say? You
can write them down. You can speak them out loud. I personally like the idea of listening to an audio each day. Like I record my clients a private audio. The reason being, right, is the mind works in words and images. Okay. If you get up out of bed every morning and you go into work, and let's say you get negative appraisal. Let's say you go in and there's a boss there, and for 10 minutes every morning he critiques you.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Terrible.
What's the lasting impression that has on your belief moving forward?
I'm not enough.
Okay, I'm not enough. Yeah. I'm not good. I'm not worthy. Yeah. It's diminishing all the time. Now we reverse that. You get up every morning, you listen to positive things about yourself, and it's your words. It's the change you want to see in your life. Or I want to be more decisive. I want to be more calm. I want to be more present. You know, habits, like simple things. I want to wake up in the morning and I'm not jumping to the phone straight away. I don't touch my phone. You're listening to this every morning, okay? And that's having an impression on you. And I say, you go and you live your day as that person. Okay, and that's the critical part, the actions of going and living your day as that person. You go and you live your day as that person, and it becomes familiar. And one day after another day after another day, it becomes more and more and more familiar, becoming that person. But if we look at neuroplasticity, right, that's without going too into it, right, but like, if we look at a lot of our beliefs from an emotional perspective, you've got your amygdala, which is like your emotional tagging system. So everything that we've experienced in our life, that takes an event and says, okay, that's a happy occasion, that's a sad occasion, okay, that's a fearful occasion, let's tag that there. And then you've got your hippocampus, which is the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, the narrative, and it combines the two. And it creates a belief that you operate from and that you drive from. And your mind very, very quickly creates that pathway where it just keeps repeating these things over and over and over again, okay? When you're listening to positive things about yourself, right, you're retraining your mind in a different way. Neuro, meaning thinking, and plasticity, meaning to reshape. Like, we can reshape how we think about ourselves. That's how we create identity change. We reshape how we think about ourselves. It's like if we go into the gym. Like, can someone go into the gym and reshape their arms, their chest, their soul? Of course. It's the very same with our thoughts about ourselves and how we see ourselves, that self-image. We can reshape it, but listening to positive things about yourself is, I genuinely believe, one of the strongest ways to do that.
And is that fed off the rapid transformational therapy to start with?
Yeah.
Because I have gone through that myself, and I remember having an audio that I listened and listened, because I remember the lady I did that with, I was moving from Coventry to London, and I'm like, right, I know I need to move out of Coventry, I need to grow, I need to be in a bigger environment. And she said, Kurt, do you mind if I kindly suggest I think we need to do some work, because I think you're just going to move certain patterns and problems and beliefs. And I remember her having this audio that some people might listen to you and I and say, you can't just listen to that. You've got to plant the seed in the first place to then support it with the beliefs and the habits to back it up and reinforce that. But you're saying that is still the thing that you'd strongly recommend.
Absolutely. Like, I recommend that because I've seen it. You know, I've seen it play out with so many of our own clients. I've seen it play out with myself. But it mightn't work for everyone. And when I say it mightn't work for everyone, it's people like to take information into different mediums. For some people, it is sitting down and writing. For other people, it's just sitting in complete silence and letting ideas actually flow into their own mind. You know, I've got clients that don't actually enjoy listening to an audio. They don't like listening to someone else telling them how they should be turn up and operating each day. Sometimes they like to just sit and let ideas flow and get into a really, really, really good state, you know. But in my opinion, like, listening to an audio every single day, the effect that it can have on your personality, on your mentality, on your energy, it's absolutely incredible, you know.
And it's serving yourself first. There'll be a lot of people listening to this, I haven't got time. Bullshit. Show me your phone, show me your social media, show me whose agendas you're consistently prioritising.
Or I struggle to focus. I'm very easily distracted.
And what's your thought process on that?
Your subconscious mind is always listening. Okay? Someone says I struggle to focus, and, you know, we're focusing all of the time. But we're focusing on what we choose to focus on, you know. Every single one of us can become that little bit more aware in a situation where we need to. For example, if I'm driving down the road after this podcast, let's say we pass a police car along the road, what happens? We become more aware. You sit up that little bit straight.
100%.
Start checking everything straight away.
100%.
Okay. So we can just switch into states of high alertness, high awareness straight away. And it's not even about doing that, okay? But it's about letting go of the story that I can't focus. And even if you say you can't, even if you say, okay, a part of me just drifts off, I get distracted, your mind clings to what's familiar. Okay, the more you listen to something, the more familiar it becomes, the easier it becomes to absorb.
And then if you support that with the right actions and habits, then eventually those patterns that you conditioned that weren't serving you or serving you as well, you've reconditioned new patterns and new habits that move you in a direction to the person that deep down you want to become.
Yeah, it's like learning an instrument. It's like learning a skill. You know, you take someone now that's 75 years of age. Okay, can they learn to speak a new language? Absolutely. Can they learn a new exercise routine? Absolutely. Can they learn to drive if they've never driven? Can they learn to swim if they've never swam? Of course. Okay. But when we actually say, okay, when that person has learned something new, right? That's change. They've changed their behavior in some way, shape, or form in order to learn that new thing. But for a lot of people, it's the limiting belief that will stop them from changing one aspect of it. They say, well, of course I could learn to swim, because swimming is not something that they consciously see a lack of every single day.
Yeah.
Or they don't get up and say, oh, my life is so miserable because I can't swim. Jesus, if only I could swim. Or if only I could, speak French.
Yeah.
But they do get up every single day and say, why am I so overweight? Why is it that I can't lose weight? Why is it so hard for me? Why have I not got enough money? Why have I not got enough clients? They'll always see the lack. And then by having those strong limiting beliefs, they put resistance in their own way. So they're the ones that are stopping themselves from creating the change,
So once you've created the new beliefs and you've hardwired that into your psyche, is there anything unique you feel you, Roseanne, and the team do to make sure that once these guys have rewired new beliefs, they've created new actions, how do you make that permanent?
That's the part where what you're looking to really do, right, is there's 13 rules of the mind, okay? And we look for patterns with each of those rules of the mind where that's actually shown up as a change in that person's physical life. We spoke yesterday about scorecards, okay? Scorecards and assessing yourself is extremely important, right? But each month what I'll do is I'll actually assess clients, okay? We'll assess emotional awareness. We'll assess the reactiveness to certain situations. We'll assess things that are very specific to that person so that we can actually see change in those areas of life. You can see measurable change in the particular areas of their life where they want to actually see change. But a lot of the fourth step, whenever you're installing a new belief system, it's not just a belief system, it's an outcome and a result.
Yeah.
You're installing someone who they want to become, a version of themselves that they want to become. And most of it is emotional. So, for example, calm, right? Some people might say, you know what, I just want to be calmer. I just want to have more peace of mind, okay? You're trying to install that into that person. And then as a result of, okay, if I'm calmer, if I've got more peace of mind, where does that show up in my life? What's the change that I see in my life where it becomes lasting change?
Yeah, that was going to be my question as well. How do you measure that? Because, there'll be some typical business gurus that are like, okay, how do you measure that?
Yeah.
Because it is a challenge, right?
Yeah.
It's even within Built to Last, we're trying to shift identity. It's not as measurable as picking up a weight or how much you weigh.
And here's what I always say to people whenever they say, how do you measure peace of mind? How do you measure being calmer, right? Yeah. If someone has grown in an area of their life, okay, and they've really grown, right? What do they typically want to do?
Tell people.
Tell people, okay? On the flip side, okay, when you've really grown, right? I mean, really grown internally and you've changed.
You're not bothered.
But where do you get that feedback from? You're not telling everyone you've changed.
Others.
Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
The people around you, okay, your kids, your wife, your partner, your clients, whoever it is, they'll say you've changed.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's the single most important metric that every single person should be assessing change off, is that if the people around you are telling you you've changed, you've changed. If you have to go and tell everyone else you've changed, question yourself.
Yeah, because there's still a part of you that's an insecurity. If you feel like you have to tell people, look at what I'm doing, look at how I'm feeling. People should feel how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And
exactly. But in terms of measurable results, okay, in terms of doing inner work should always be linked to outer results. I do believe that, especially for business leaders. If you want to rebuild how you operate under pressure, then there should be evidence to showcase that you can earn more. There should be evidence to showcase that you have more free time. There has to be something that has to change outside, because as we know, your environment creates so much of the stresses and pressures that you're going to put yourself under in this moment. So if you look at business leaders, they're chasing more money, they're chasing more time off, or they're chasing psychological freedom. It's going to be one of those three things that's going to drive them. So for most of them, it's okay. Where is it that you want to see the greatest amount of change? Is it earning more? Is it having more time off? And if you rebuild how you're actually operating with the pressure that you're putting yourself under, and you make that identity shift, where is that showing up in your business? Where is that showing up in your home life? Where is that showing up in your relationships? And where is it showing up in your physical health?
All right, I have to ask you this question as well, because I know we've spoke about this off camera, but I think it's just going to be super direct for the right people who this will resonate with, and it's going to go one way or the other for many people. One of the biggest challenges we face, even in Built to Last, and I see in, dare I say it, high performers, front end, they can show the strong mindset, demonstrate the great habits, show confidence when conditions are rosy and there's not too much change, conflict, pressure. But even for some of the most wealthiest front-end polished entrepreneurs, founders, business leaders, the moment the going gets tough, they have to pivot aggressively in business. I know it sounds morbid. Someone dies in the family. They're going through tough time, maybe with their kids at school, or they have an injury that holds them back with their training, or there's just something that isn't a part of their expectations. I see so many people fold. From your years of experience, not just from your coaching, but in the military. 2 questions. Why do you think that is? Secondly, what are the traits from the people you've been around in the military and the clients you've coached that handle that better? What are the traits of these people, and what are the traits of the people that you typically fold? Are there any patterns that you've noticed?
The most powerful force in the human psyche is to act in line with who you believe yourself to be. So when your external circumstances change, you will revert to default and you'll act in line with who you believe yourself to be. I'm not that type of person. When I've got a lot on my plate, when stress is high, when I'm overwhelmed with work, right? There's a voice inside our mind that brings us straight back to who we believe ourselves to be. And that's your true identity. It's the belief that's driving things is your true identity. You know, we spoke about many beliefs that people have when they struggle to get in shape. It's just a story that they tell themselves. Someone might say, I believe it has to be extreme. So if they believe it has to be extreme, they'll keep going back to extreme measures. Regardless of what plan you give them, they'll make it more tough, more intense, more extreme. And then what will happen, it won't be sustainable, and they'll go back to where they were. Because they're acting in line with who they believe themselves to be deep down. That's the answer to the first one, right? The second one, the traits. I'm going to go a mile deep on this, on one.
Good. This is what I want.
Instead of 3.
Yeah, this is what I want. If it's 1, that's even better.
I think it's if someone said to me, okay, there's 100 people and they all want to get in fantastic shape. There's 30 of them. We've given them structure. We've given them routine. They're in the right environment. They're getting in shape. But we've got the 70. We're struggling with the 70. What is it that the 70 are not doing that the 30 are doing? Okay? What is it that the elite guys who can get in shape and stay in shape are doing that these guys are not doing? What is it that these guys in the military are doing that these guys are not doing? It's decision making. It comes down to their decision making in those small moments. Like, I genuinely believe, right? And whenever I coach fat loss, I used to say this to people all the time. The difference between someone that loses 2 kilos a month and puts on 2 kilos a month, people would think that's completely different lifestyles. As we know, it's probably not. It's a handful of decisions throughout the week that sends a person this direction or this direction, and it's their decision making in those moments. And people can say, it's work, it's stress, it's life, I've got a lot on, I've got no time, this is going on, I'm injured, okay, I'm in an environment where I haven't got access to the right food. You're making decisions every single day, okay? Food is present. I'm in a situation, food is present. What do I do? I'm socializing on the weekend. I'm at a party. There's alcohol everywhere. What does someone like me typically do? Okay? I've had a stressful day at work. I've just got home. There's no food in the house. but there's a menu there for the takeaway. What does someone like me typically do? And it's those decisions, right, that dictates whether a person goes this direction or this direction, you know.
And why is it you feel some people go one direction and order the Chinese and the other person doesn't? Because yes, there's a decision, but when it actually comes to that moment, because I totally agree with you, like what from your experience, and you might not be able to give me a definitive answer because there are multiple reasons sometimes, but just one core reason from your experience. Why is it some people make the right decision and some people don't?
Okay. Can I put this back to you?
Yeah.
Right. Visualize two people you've worked with. I want you to visualize one.
Yeah.
Who is just an operator.
Yep.
And I want you to visualize straight away. Other who is very inconsistent.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to visualize the same situation, the same circumstances. Okay. They've both come home. It's been a very long day at work.
Yeah.
There's no food there.
Yeah.
And there's a menu for the Chinese.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they both make the same decision?
No, do they fuck?
What's different? You see
it's mentality. It's mentality. Time and time and time and time and time and time again. It's just not taking responsibility. It's as you've said, yeah. It's believing. It's creating a bullshit story that doesn't matter. It's okay. I haven't got another option.
Is there patterns in their life to show that they've never really taken responsibility for this problem?
Yes, absolutely.
That's an identity.
Yeah.
There's always a paper trail. There's always a pattern to bring us back. And that's where people have to be honest with themselves. Yeah. And I can say that because it's like me with the dentist.
Yeah.
Okay? What am I doing there? That's avoiding.
Yep.
Right, to him.
Yeah, so we're not judging by saying this, right? Absolutely. I get it.
I've been that guy where I don't want people to shine a light on my blind spots. I've been that guy. But there comes a stage where you're at that junction, you have to say, okay, do I really want to change? And if you're like, okay, I want to be the person where my coach visualizes me and says, wait a minute.
What type of person is that person?
This guy makes the right decisions. This guy makes decisions that are aligned with his goals. This guy makes the decisions that I would expect from someone who's been through our coaching process. When you want to be that person, right, that's whenever you have to say, okay, there is evidence to show in my life that I haven't fully taken responsibility for this problem. And I've always put life circumstances, I've always put external situations in the way, you know?
No, I get it, Mark. I could talk to you all day, Matt. I notice we're a little bit pressed for time. What's the mission with? I mean, we haven't mentioned your program, of course, Built to Lead. What's the mission with Built to Lead? You and Razan and what you guys are doing just now. What's the goal?
Yeah, on the agenda this year is we're going to do book number 2.
Yeah. And
one of our big goals over the next 12 months is we want to have more of an impact on the youth. Like I believe we've had a really good impact on business leaders. We've had a really good impact on us, but we want to have more of an impact on the youth. So we want to get out to schools a lot more. We want to have more of an impact in our community. And we have a big goal of selling out a 400-seater event by January 2027. So that's the biggest goal that we've set now yet. So we're looking forward to that.
And why is all this important to you?
You know, if I go back to why I do what I do right now, and you say, what's really driving me? And people will just have like a surface level need and say, oh, it's contribution or, you know, but contribution to who and for what and why. And that's areas that I've gone a lot deeper on. And when I look at myself at 12, 13, 14, and I think to myself, if I only had access to that kind of information, if I only had access to that kind of influence, how different could my life have been? And whenever I say how different could my life have been, I don't mean externally. If you said to me, go back and relive your life to this point right now and have the same external results, I would do it. Like with the military and with the career I had, like I had the best times of my life. Yeah. Like I had the best times, best experiences, best fun of my life. And I'd go back and I'd relive it again, but I do it a different way. But to do it a different way, I would have to have been influenced by someone like me at that stage of my life. You know, a few weeks ago, I'm in the local boxing club, and there's a kid there, he's 19 years old, and I'm holding the pads with him. And he was still in his work clothes. And I said, you had a long day. He goes, oh, it's exhausting. He's working in a construction site. I says, what's the plan for the rest of your life? And he said, I don't know, just keep working away. Are you happy? He said, no. I said, okay. Next week, when we're doing the pads, you're going to come back to me and you're going to let me know, number one, a skill that you're going to learn. Okay? And number two, even just a paper exercise, you're going to show me how you could monetize that skill. Okay? He came back to me and he said, you know what, I'd love to be a coach. I'd love to be a boxing coach. And I could create a course, like a YouTube course or something, where I teach people how to box or something. I was like, amazing. I said, can you see how much potential you actually have? It mightn't be the box course. It might be something completely different, but can you see how much potential you have? And that's just in like a little interaction. But I genuinely left that and I felt more empowered from that little interaction than what I could have by helping someone to fucking earn money or something, you know?
No, I get it.
Genuinely, like, you know?
Yeah, I get it.
And it drives me to have an influence on those people as well, you know?
I get it. Last question. What would be the number one piece of advice you would tell 13-year-old Martin Brady or any business owner, or just anyone listening to this who believes they need to put themselves under pressure to perform and be successful? What is the one parting thing that you would leave people with?
If you believe you have to put yourself under pressure, it's true, because what you believe is typically true. Do I believe there has to be an element of pressure to succeed? Yes. And I'm not denying that, you know, and I think that's so important, that there's not that wall where, okay, this is about choosing one or the other, but rebuild how you operate under pressure, rebuild how you do it. You know, when I'm on that course and I'm the guy that's under pressure and I'm under tension, I've been able to absorb people beyond that course who are calm, who are measured, who are controlled, who are very decisive. You know, back in 2022, I remember you sending me a voice note. It was the first event that I was ever running, big event. And I'll finish with this short story that I'll teach you.
I can't remember. Right? Yeah, go on.
It was in Fort Island Resort, right?
I remember.
And I remember going out to view the room. And the room, you can cut off half the room, right? And the guy, the events manager on the day, he said, look, book half the room. You probably won't get 100 people. So book half the room, then you only have to pay for half the room. And on the day, we can open up the doors to a bigger room if you let us know. And then you'll only pay the invoice for the bigger room. I says, no, give me the bigger room. Yeah. I says, but you haven't sold the ticket yet. I says, I don't care. Give me the bigger room. So I paid for the bigger room on that day, took the 100 people. I walked over there and Roseanne said, why'd you do that? I says, because that's what Eamon Keneally would have did. No, he was a mentor of mine in the army and he was so calm under pressure. So calm under pressure. But as a result of being so calm under pressure, he always thought bigger, not smaller. And I thought to myself, that's what he would have done. He would have said, give me the bigger room. So that's exactly what I did. Why? Because he acts calm under pressure. And that's why I wanted to act, was calm under pressure.
Mate, you're a beast.
Okay.
Where can people find you on socials and find out about what you do?
Yeah, so Martin.Brady_ on Instagram and LinkedIn. They're going to be the main places that you'll find this. We have our own podcast as well. It's the Reinventing Yourself podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple, and all the usual channels.
Yeah, and we got this book, Change Your Jacket, as well. So we'll put that in the notes as well. Mark, maybe we could
Kirk,
talk.
it's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for your friendship and all the help and support that you've given me over the years. But it's been absolutely fantastic. Honestly, you're the first step of my journey into the coaching space was that call with you. Yeah. And we've had a good relationship ever since. I still have a video on my phone and I wanted to bring that up. I spoke in Phil's program and you came on and you gave a bit of an intro to who I was. And I still have the video recorded on my phone. And believe it or not, I'd say for about 6 months straight, I used to watch that video every single day. And it had such a positive impression on me.
Oh, mate, thank you so much. Well, I'm blessed to have you in my life, mate, and let's do it again. And we'll pick up some heavy weights tomorrow as well, just for good measure.
Let's go.
Right, guys, I'll see you next time.